which is our continuation class, is our economic environment and business. So in our last previous classes, we discussed about environment of business overview, and also I discussed objectives and international relationship between business and environment and interrelations and micro environment and macro environment and some other parts we discussed like the SWOT analysis in our first class. And we also discussed kind of agreements, international agreements. So that is our last topic. And today, let me introduce our topic, economic planning in India, which is in a second block. Before that, let me share my class. Yeah, here is my screen, which I'm sharing. I'll just go little. It is visible now. Economic environment and business. Let us define what is a economic environment and business. This we discussed in earlier classes, but still it defines the economic and business environment, refers to the external conditions and factors like micro factors and macro factors, which I explained in earlier classes. Those were affecting how business operate and make decisions and how businesses are achieving profitability, including economic growth, inflation, interest rates, government policies, consumer behavior, and competition, all with, which create opportunities or challenges business must adapt for success, influencing the businesses and business operations and business functions. So coming to economic environment, macro and micro factors, those were operates or business operate and make decisions and achieve profitability. There were some other factors which were influencing. So these factors, many businesses, international businesses need to take a challenging task of these businesses and they have to work on it. So coming to our fourth unit, which is economic planning in India. So as I mentioned, there were micro and macro factors. And as earlier as I mentioned, we have a SWOT analysis, strengths, opportunities, and threats. SWOT, weaknesses. So what are the external factors and internal factors of organization or business, which we need to identify? And as per that, we need to take those opportunities and challenges or factors and threats as a challenge. So this will be a challenging task for any country or any organization or any institution or any business, which might be internal or external. So coming to economic planning in India. So economic planning in India initiated in 1950. So after independence, which is initiated post-independence in 1956, and it involves a structure of 5-year plans to promote rapid inclusive growth, reduce poverty, and ensure equitable resource distribution. So this economic planning is planned for planned in 1951 after post-independence, and it involves the structure of 5-year plans. Like every 5 years, there is a change of government. So because government will change, they have their own strategies. Every government, they have their own strategies. So as per the strategies, they will plan the economical planning for the Indian government, and these are the few things the structure is having. And this will be mostly promoting our rapid growth and inclusive growth and to reduce poverty of India and to ensure equitable resources distribution. Whatever the resources we have in India, that we need to establish that we need to provide that resources in equal manner. Historically driven by the Planning Commission, it shifted from a state-led model to the Niti Aayog's think tank. So think tank approach in 2015. So it is focusing on cooperative federalism and economic liberalization to address development challenges. In 2015, historically driven by the Planning Commission, it is shifted from economic planning of India to the Niti Aayog. So think tank. So which approach is started in 2015 and mostly it is focusing on cooperative federalism and economic liberalization to address development challenges. So let us move on to a meaning of economy. What exactly is an economy? An economy is a limited geographical area, normally a country where consumption, production, exchange, and distribution of goods, services takes place. These activities are undertaken by individual business firms, government, or any other agency designed for this purpose. So, meaning of economy. So, an economy is a limited geographical area. Every country is having their own limited geographical area, and also where the composition, production, and exchange and distribution of goods and services takes place. There should be a composition, there should be production, and also exchange and distribution of goods and services takes place. So when I'm talking about our subject, mostly imports and exports of goods and services will take the place. It depends on the resources of their own country. So an economy is limited geographical area. So in our limited geographical area, what are the sources or resources are present that will exchange from other country to get a profit. So this is nothing but a meaning of economy. Coming to types of economic systems. How many types of economic systems are there? Here I mentioned a small picture and later I'll explain. Economic system is divided into three parts. First one is a capitalist economy and next one socialist economy and third one mixed economy. These are the three different types of economy. So let us move on to capitalism. What exactly? First one, capitalistic economies are characterized by the private ownership of means of production. Here the clear picture is capitalistic economies are characterized by the private ownership of a production and the physical and geographical resources are under the control of private individuals or business houses. Here, capitalism means it characterized by own private ownership, private ownership of a, it may be organization or business or individual. And physical and geographical resources are under the control of private individuals or business houses. And next, people have the right to own and dispose of private property as per their wish and ability. Because they own their property, they have a wish to sell the property or dispose the property. They can do whatever they want because it is their own. So this is nothing but a capitalism. Here, the own private or own individual businesses have their own ownership. Completely, the ownership will be on an individual. Next, let us discuss on socialism. Socialism. What this is the second part of economy. First one, as I discussed, capitalist economy. Second one, socialist economy. Let us move on to a socialist economy. It is nothing but economies are mostly controlled or command economies. As I mentioned, in a capitalism, it is a owned, and here socialism, socialistic economies are mostly controlled or command economies, and the means of production are mostly owned by the state. Here, state involvement will be there, and the productions are mostly owned by the state government or state, and people's welfare replaces profit motivate in a socialistic economy. In this economic, public sector replaces private business in a production process. This is no right to private property and economic freedom to the people. As I mentioned earlier, capitalistic economy is a own business. They have every right to dispose their business or their private property. And here in a socialism, there is no right to private property and economic freedom to the people because state involvement will be there. It is under the control of state. Let us move on to mixed economy, third one, which is a third type, mixed economy. So this is characterized by the coexistence of public sector working hand in glove with the private sector. Very simple meaning is it is mixed economies. Like as I mentioned, socialistic and capitalistic both will mix in this mixed economy. Profit motive of private sector and welfare base of public sector are adjusted through the instrumentalities like industrial or licensing process. Of course, every business need to follow the licensing processes. It is mostly a mixed capitalism, mixed economy, capitalistic as well socialism. So these are the three types of economies. First one, capitalist economy, socialist economy, and mixed economy. These are the three types of economy systems. Let us move on to our next topic, salient features of Indian economy. So Indian economy is having a feature. So let us discuss what exactly the features here. I kept an image which I'm sharing. So this image will show us a reflection of features of Indian economy. This is a mixed economy. First feature is a mixed economy. As I mentioned earlier, three types of economies we have. In that combination of public and private sectors will be there. And next one, agriculture dependent, significant share of employment. And next one, a rapid population growth. So in a rapid population growth, it having a high population density. And next feature is developing economy. Here we have two types, low per capita income and growth in industrialization. Next, move on to income disparities, high high inequality among different regions. It depends on the region of a sources. And next one, large informal sector, which is high percentage of unorganized workforce. And next, last, service sector dominance. So major contribution of is a GDP. Let us get into the features, a few features which I described in a next page, which is inequality in the distribution of income. Here I mentioned as per World Development Report in 2000 to 2001, the richest 20% have the share of 46.1 percentage of the income, and the poorest 20% have share of only 11.6% of their total income. Here it is showing that inequalities in the distribution of income. Here the richer will become a very rich and poorer will become a very poor, which is showing the statistics. In my statistics, as per World Development Reports, here I mentioned 2000 to 2001, the richest 20% have shares of 46.1% of their income, and poorest 20% have a share of only 11.6% of the total income. The top 20 include business community, the top 20 businesses. I mean, they were include the business community, the industrial workers in the public and private sector, and the affluent landowners. In fact, in India, the lifestyle of rich are far better than affluent in the West and American, despite the fact that one third of its population lives below subsistence. As per I collected my few statistics, the top 20 include the business community. And next one, let us move on to predominant of agriculture. This is one more feature of economy, Indian economy. Agriculture provides employment to nearly two-thirds of the working population. Here, as I mentioned, in the predominance of agriculture, Indian agriculture provides the employment to nearly two-thirds of the working population. At the beginning of the century, this was 71.7%. So this can be encountered for uh, ruralization, slow and steady growth of the industrial and territory sector. At present, nearly 60% of the labor force is abroad in the agricultural sector, and agriculture also provides livelihood to nearly 70% of the people, as I mentioned, predominant of agriculture. And next feature, let us move on to underdeveloped natural resources and inadequate capital formation. Here, as I mentioned, the popular saying that India is a rich country in habitated by poor people. Very simple. Here is a statement that the popular saying that the India is a rich country inhabited by poor people. It shows that the fact that we are endowed with a exhaustible quantity of natural resources, abundant land resources of varying fertility, rich water resource with a perennial river, and also divergent climate conditions. So India is having different climate conditions. So many people are like by using kind of carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide vehicles, the climate is getting affected, and the Indian climate, not only in India, worldwide climate also, because it is affecting on ozone layer, the climate is getting changed. It is going to forward or it may going a step back. Demographic profile. Let us move on to demographic profile, which is another salient feature. India is the second highly populated country next to China. As I mentioned, India is the second highly populated country next to China, because now maximum Indian population will be around 140 100 crore. We are reaching. Maybe in future we may cross the China also, but how it is affecting? 1/7 of the world's population lives in India, which is a big statistical statement which I mentioned here. 1/7 of the world's population lives in India. The high rate of population growth is due to Sorry for the interruption. Let us move on to as I mentioned, during 1911 to 1921, the average annual birth rate was 49,000 by 2011. It declined to 21.8 by 1,000 and 7.1 by 1,000. Consequently, India's population is increasing rapidly, every year rapidly. As per the statistics, if we observe how it is increasing, we can observe. And the rate of growth of population, which was around 2.5% till it is slightly decreased to 1.8% during 1991 to 2001 and 1.2% during 2001 to 2011. Yet it is very high compared to the developed countries, recording 0 to 1% increase in their population. But in India, population growth is every year it is increasing. It may affect on resources, business environment. Definitely, there will be a more macro and micro factors, meteorological factors will face in a business and imports and exports, and also a major effect will be on resources. Population is increasing and resources are not up to the mark in India, that we can observe as per the statistics. And next feature is poor quality of human capital. If we observe, investment in human beings is considered as a capital formation. So unfortunately, the quality of human capital is very low in India because population is high. The quality of human capital is very low in India. So these are a few features of our economy, Indian economy. And let us move on to the planning commission. What is a planning commission in India? And functions of planning commission. Let us move on. What are the planning commission and what this planning commission strategies will be towards Indian economy? Let us move on. Formulate a plan for the most effective and balanced utilization of country's resources. The major function of this planning commission is whatever the resources we are getting in India, with the resources, whatever agriculture side resources, infrastructure resources, our manufacturing resources, our country companies resources, our organizations resources. There were different types of resources. Whatever the resources we are getting, that planning commission will formulate a plan for the most effective and balanced utilization of country's resources. So the resources should reach every person, whatever, like a food. For example, if we take a rice from agriculture, every rice grain should reach to the people. Like a Indian government is providing a policy of free rice. Like every month, a person is getting eight kilograms of our rice. So it is like a balanced utilization of country's resources to the poor people. As I mentioned earlier, poorest is becoming a poor and richest people are becoming rich. So if we balance the resources in a formulated way, this planning commission is maintaining a major key role in utilization, in planning the utilizations of our resources of India. And next one, determination of priorities. So planning commission will give the priorities. Every year there is a change of government, as I mentioned. For example, during COVID, many people, like not only in India, worldwide people got affected their health. So in a planning commission, for example, if we take first priority will be on public health. So they will release most budget on a public health. So in that way, the commission should plan the priorities. And next, mobilization and allocation of resources, physical and financial, for the implementation of the plans. Here, if we observe mobilization and allocation of resources, physical and financial resources. A physical and financial resources are depending on the priorities of determinations of the plan, and it apprises from time to time to the progress achieved in the execution of each stage of the plan and recommended adjustments. Mobilization and allocation of resources, physical and financial, for the implementation of plan, and also apprise from time to time to the progress achieved. So it has to allocate the resources. Planning Commission has to allocate the resources based on utilization, and they had to balance it. So as per the allocation, it has to focus on progress of achieved goals. How these plans are, mobilization plans are executing, that they need to focus. Commission has to focus. And next one, determine the nature of machinery which will be necessary for securing the successful implementation of plan. Here, determination of nature of the machinery which will necessary for securing the successful implementation of the plan. Comparatively, post-independence and pre-independence, and during after independence during 1947 to 60 or 60 to 70, every year, every decade year, if we observe, there is a development of machinery in an agriculture form. Priorly, people used to work, labor used to work every day, and they need to get their remuneration for everyday work, like a normal daily labor wage base. And nowadays, one machine is doing the work of 100 number of people. This is what, how machinery will have a necessity for securing the successful implementation of the plan. Government also giving subsidies, and they're also providing kind of policies for the poorest people, below poverty line people. This is what a planning commission and their functions. Let us move on to the National Development Council. Here I mentioned a image what exactly a National Development Council and when it started. The National Development Council was set in 1952. It consists of the Prime Minister as chairman, all cabinet ministers of the Union government, members of the Planning Commission, all the chief ministers of the state, and representatives of Union territories. As I mentioned, National Development Council set up in 1952. And it consists of people, those were prime minister as a chairman and other all cabinet ministers of government, and also consist of members of the planning commission, all chief ministers of the states, and representatives of union territories. This is a national development council. Let us move on to socio-economic objectives of planning in India. What is the socio-economic objectives and what are the socio-economic objectives and planning in India? So before entering to that, let us move on to 5-year plans. When it started until now, how many 5-year plans were there, and what is the duration of a 5-year plan? I mean year, from which year to which year it emphasized, and what is the result, whether it is got success or not, and what is the model they used, Indian government commission, planning commission. So let us move on to first 5-year plan, which is established in 1951, as I mentioned, 1951 to 1956. So it emphasized small industries and agriculture. The priority of 1951 to 56 is a in small industries and agriculture. They focused on mostly on small industries as well agriculture, and the result was successful. They implemented these small industries and agriculture in 1951 to 56, a 5-year plan. In that, they got 100% result and they got success. Here, they used model is hard Domer model they used to implement this 5-year plan. Second 5-year plan will be 1956 to 61. So heavy industry. Here they emphasized on a heavy industry, which also got successful. And Prashant Chandar and Mahanovis were the heads. And next 3rd-year plan is 1961 to 1966. Here also it emphasized agriculture. If we observe, many 5-year plans are emphasized on agriculture and industry based. So in 1961 to 66 is a agriculture, but it didn't reach up to the mark, like they got a failure result. And here John Sandy and Rukmini Chakravarti, sorry, Rukmini Chakravarti both were there. And next one, 1969 to 1974. Here also, it emphasized this 5-year plan emphasized on agriculture, and also it got failed. This is the second time a 5-year plan not reached up to the mark, and they got a failed result. And Alan S. Mane and Ashok Rudra were there, where they used the model. And next 1974 to 78, poor elimination. This got successful, and DP Dhar and DP Dhar model. And next 1980 to 85, poverty and self-sufficiency. It is emphasized on poverty and self-sufficiency, and it got successful and good year mid-year. And next 1985 to 1990, they focused on economy, Indian economy, and they got success. Next 8th 5-year plan is 1992 to 1997, developed of agriculture and human resources. And the result is success. John M. Moeller, sorry, John W. Moeller. And next 9th 5-year plan will be 1997 to 2002. A fair dispensation, and it is failed. Here the used model is a growth model they used. And next 10th 5-year plan is 2002 to 2007. This emphasized on social justice and equality. Social justice and equality. Here they got success rate in a result, and Rangarajan model they used. And next 5-year plan is 2012 to 2017, which is acute retention and more inclusive development. This result is a successful, and planning commission has the model. So these are the 12 5-year plans which I mentioned, because every 5 years the government will change and there is a formation of new government as per their rules and strategies. The government will give a planning commission for economic growth in India. This is what a planning commission work. And next, let us move on to a major long-term objectives of planning commission. What are the major objectives for a planning commission? Here I mentioned economic planning plays a very important role in economic development. Not only in India, every country need to have economic planning. So how they prioritize their 5-year plan, what is a priority, and how they're distributing their resources. This is most important. This will help a country for their economical growth. So a good economic planning may give a good economical growth and economical development. And next, the fundamental objective of the economic planning in India is growth with a social justice. So every country need to follow the justice or law, social justice. This is most important. So when a country is growing around, a person is growing, put, they should not underestimate other countries. Every country have their own resources and their own economic plan as per their GDP. Here, fundamental objective is a growth with a social justice. Companies can grow; they can have a growth in their economic planning or economy, but with a social justice, it should form. And some other major objectives are attainment of higher rate of economic growth. Every country will think about to attain the high economic growth, but India also is thinking about. We are trying to implement few strategies because every time government is changing, as per their changes, government is having their own ideas and strategies. Here, the planning commission mostly it will focus on attaining of high economic growth. And next, reduction of economic inequalities. So we need to reduce the economical inequalities in India. And next objective is achieving full employment. Here in India, every year, as I mentioned in earlier statistics, in India, every year there is a rapid growth of population. Number of students, youth who are coming out with their degrees. Like if we take engineering students, some other postgraduate students, and some undergraduate students, and polytechnic college students, some other affiliated courses students, they are coming out of their colleges with a degree, but they are not getting enough jobs. And that is nothing but a gig workers. Still, people are becoming a gig workers in India, many students. So this planning commission objective should be to achieve full employment. And next, modernization of various sectors. There, so in India, we have a different sectors like private sector and government sector, public sector. But there are also other sectors in a private, mixed sectors. And also we are implementing, we are adapting the technology from other country. As per that requirement, we need to achieve the employment and we need to modernize the various sectors. Like when I'm using technology to prepare my class work or to take class, which is online by using this Google platform or Zoom platform. Now we modernized taking classes. This is what modernization of various sectors. So teaching methods has changed right now. This is what we need to change. And next, in a modernization of various sectors, so one more example, if I want to suggest, we have one generation, 2G, 3G, 4G. Now we are in a 5G. We are using fifth generation 5G. In the future, like 2027 or by the end of this year, we may get 6G also. In this way, we are following and we are adapting. Next, reducing imbalance in economy. Next, attaining economic self-reliance. We need to have a self-reliance and to attain the economy. For this, we need to observe, we need to focus, we need to monitor the Indian economy, how we are planning, what are the economic plans, are we following, are we implementing, what are the executing strategies that we need to focus. These are few objectives of planning commission in India. And here I mentioned priorities and outlays of successive 5-year plans. As I mentioned in earlier slide, like in this slide, I mentioned a duration, emphasis, and result. And this slide will show the priorities and outlays of successive 5-year plans. How we prioritized and what is a target and what is the actual. In first 5-year plan, our target is 2.9%. We reached 3.6, so that's success. And here second 5-year plan, 4.5 target and 4.3%. We reached here. And third 5-year plan, 5.6 is our target, 5.6%. But here we reached only 2.8, so that will be cancelled. And next, fourth plan will be a 5.7, and here we got 3.3. Here we got 5. As I mentioned earlier, these two plans, third and fourth 5-year plans, were focused or emphasized on agriculture, and those got failed. And next fifth plan target is 4.4% and 4.8 we got. So like this I mentioned, in sixth plan 5.2 and we got 6, and seventh plan 5.0 and we got 6, and eighth plan 5.6%, and here we got 6.8%. Ninth plan 97 to 2002, 6.5% is our target, and we got 5.4. Somehow we lost it. And tenth plan 2002 to 2007, 8.0, and next census, whether it is got success or fail, that we'll get through the statistics. And next, move on to Niti Aayog. So Niti Aayog is a part of 5-year plans. As I mentioned, every 5 years there is a change in government. So when government is changing, people are using their own names, like a Niti Aayog 5-year plan. So that has changed into a Niti Aayog. Let's see what is a Niti Aayog. National Institute for Transforming India, Niti Aayog. So the full form of Niti Aayog is National Institute for Transforming India, and it was established on January 1st, 2015 through a government resolution. As I mentioned, government has to take a resolution after formation. So their first resolution is a Niti Aayog, which is started in January 1st, which is established in January 1st, 2015. Niti Aayog is essentially an advisory body that seeks to provide critical direction and strategic inputs across a number of key elements of policy. Coming to Niti Aayog 6, to put an end to the slow and trendy implementation of the policy by fostering inter-ministry and interstate and center-state coordination. So Niti Aayog's main aim is here, it seeks to put an end to a slow to a trendy implementation of policies. Now people are using information technology to find their policies. Every news, if some, for example, right now I'm sitting here, and if I want to get an information immediately, I can search on my electronic gadgets that what I wanted to get the information. This is what forecasting, inter-ministry and interstate and center-state coordination. And objectives of Niti Aayog are here I mentioned how it works and what are the objectives. Niti Aayog is the successor in interest to the Planning Commission, was assigned with the following functions. What are those functions? Let us move on to the functions. Niti Aayog is the forecasting cooperative federalism through active involvement of state. As I mentioned in our main aim, through involvement of states, it will work, and any plan can implement with the involvement of a states model. And also Niti Aayog another function is to formulate a plan at the village level and aggregating them at national level, bottom up to approach, and special attention to the weaker section, like below poverty line people. Niti Aayog will focus on below poverty line, poor of the poorest people. So on them, they will focus. And next one, formulate economic policy that incorporates national interest. Niti Aayog also will formulate the policies, and it will focus on how these policies are executing or implementing in a state level bodies. And next, constant innovative improvement. The main objective of, another main objective of Niti Aayog is constant innovative improvements. So constant innovative improvements are like, if we observe in a 2020, after 2020, many students are focusing on startups. Startups are like innovative ideas, entrepreneurs. Students are coming with a different new innovative ideas to start their startups. This Niti Aayog shows a constant innovative improvement. And next, partnership with national and international think tank. As I mentioned, Niti Aayog, partnership with national and international bodies and creating knowledge, innovation, and entrepreneurial support system. As I mentioned, with the new innovative ideas, we can create a new knowledge, new innovative ideas, and entrepreneurial support system. So if we observe in Hyderabad, we have D-Hub, Telangana Hub, which is providing support to the startups like new entrepreneurs, those who are coming with innovative ideas, they are getting support from T-Hub. So that is a state government support. So state governments again getting support from central government, which is formed as a Niti Aayog, and create platform for resolution of intersectoral and interdependent issues, departmental issues. So it also a platform. It is a platform for a resolution of intersectoral and interdepartmental issues. And next, establish a state-of-the-art sources centers for research on good governance, focus on technology, upgradation, and capacity building. As I mentioned, now this era is a AI, artificial intelligence era. Everything with a single tip of click, we are getting the information. So we are upgrading the information technology. So this Niti Aayog also will focus on technology, upgradation, and capacity, as I mentioned. Next, let us move on. How Niti Aayog can anchor develop India by 2047. Now we are in 2026. After 20 years, what is our India condition? If Niti Aayog will implement such things, here is an image. So strengthen cooperative and competitive federalism. This is a major point. And drive second generation reforms in agriculture, health, and education labor. This is one more development which we can see in the future. These are forecasting objectives which I mentioned. Gain limited financial powers and greater institutional autonomy. So our institutional autonomy we can get, and one more, promote innovation and emerging technologies. AI, artificial intelligence, electronic vehicles, green hydrogen. These are the things we can promote in innovative. And next one, act as India's government and policy interface and knowledge hub. Of course, India is a knowledge hub, and we can get developments in more developments in interfaces and get a knowledge hub. And next one, push inclusive and sustainable development like nutrition, skilling, and green economy. Because of pollution, we need to think of the environmental pollution and how it is affecting public as well sustainability. So it will push inclusive and sustainable development through good nutrition, providing good nutrition and good skilling, good economy, green economy. And next, ensure data-driven governance with a real-time monitoring. We also need to, with the NITI Aayog, one more development is data-driven governance with a real-time monitoring. We can monitor in a real-time phase. These are the few developmental things which we can see in a 2047. Let us see what is the structure of NITI Aayog. Here I mentioned. So it is consisting of the organization structure of NITI Aayog is first one Prime Minister of India. He is the ex officio chairman of the NITI Aayog, Prime Minister. And next will be a governing council composed of chief ministers of all India states and union territories with the legislature, governor of Andaman and Nicobar. These people will be the governing councils. And next, regional councils are composed of chief ministers of states and limited governors of union territories in the region to address specific issues and contingencies impacting more than one state or a region. This is the structure of NITI Aayog. So let us move on to our first slide. Today's topic is, we have only 5 minutes. Let me brief today's topic. Economic, government and business. Here I mentioned what is the economic, government and business. Coming to economic planning in India. So every 5 years there is a change of government. So as per their change of government, they'll have their own resolutions, and that resolution they will use, they'll name the 5 year plan. It might be NITI Aayog or any, as per their convenience, they will have their own strategies. And as I mentioned, meaning of economy, what is our economy? And coming to types of economies, here I mentioned 3 types of economies, like a capitalist economy, socialist economy, and mixed economy. Capitalist is a own property, and socialist is a government property, state involvement. It will be under state government. And mixed economy is mixed of both capital and social economy. And next, here I mentioned few salient features of Indian economy. So I can just give brief on inequalities in a distribution of income and predominance of agriculture. And next one, demographic profile and poor quality of human capital. These are few salient features which I explained in detail. And coming to a planning commission, what is a planning commission and how it consists and which year it started, and what is a National Development Council. So in a National Development Council, how many people were there and who all will include in a National Development Council. And next, socio-economic objectives of planning in India. How it started, in which year it started, how many 5 year plans were there. Each 5 year plan emphasized on what is a question mark, or else it is an small industries, agriculture, or heavy industries, it depends, as I mentioned. And result, after implementing this emphasis, either it got failed or either it got success. And which model they use for a plan, I mentioned here, a major objectives and some objectives I mentioned here. And next one, priorities of Priorities and outlays of successive 5-year plans. Here I mentioned. And what is the target and actual target? Did we reach the actual target or not? That I mentioned in a 5-year plan. Next, move on to Niti Aayog. What is a Niti Aayog and what are the objectives and structure of Niti Aayog? And when it started, and members of Niti Aayog, who is a chairperson, and how many people will involve? Is it a state heads or chief ministers of states that I mentioned? And coming to objectives of Niti Aayog, here I mentioned few objectives and as well what is the future of Niti Aayog by 2047. So if Niti Aayog is implemented successfully in India by 2047, we can see all these observations as I mentioned on a screen. And next, structure of Niti Aayog. What is the structure of Niti Aayog? Who all are the members? And how many members are there in a governing council, and what is a regional council? These are the things we mentioned in our Niti Aayog. And thank you. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. Sorry for the internet interruption. I just got interruption during my class. I'll stop sharing my screen.